Think we all set? Good. Okay, I'll call to order the Tuesday, June 28th, 2022 regular board meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Southgate's mission statement is Learning for Life. The vision statement is Southgate Community Schools, the best choice for students and parents. Takes us to item D. Any revisions to the agenda?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, motion to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion?
Support.
Sorry, yeah, support, good. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have an agenda. So before we jump into presentations, we're gonna take a moment to recognize a member of staff.
Okay. So I want to acknowledge Teresa Grakowski, who has been dedicated to not only this board, but to the students, staff, and our district. She's been an integral part of keeping the board informed, managing important and confidential board information, and getting all of our decisions on record. Congratulations on your retirement. Thank you for working with the many changes in central office and on the board. Thank you for your 23 years of service.
Always a pleasure. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I told her she didn't have to stay beyond the presentation. So you are free to stay.
She
but-
knows, she knows how to,
Okay.
She's gonna be back there taking notes.
no.
When we're not looking.
All right, so we will get on to presentations now. The first one is the fiscal year 22 final amendment. Is this Barb?
We actually have a revised one. So we're actually not going to present that particular.
Am I working off
Item?
the?
If you work from.
Sorry, I'm working off the old one here.
Was that the only change?
From the ones I sent you?
Yeah.
I would refer to the one that is posted online. Yeah, there were several changes there.
Okay.
Just little minor ones.
Bear with me one for a second while I find the right one.
And it's also in the update.
Is that the only one, the only change we have? Is that?
I believe so,
Okay.
other than the handbooks that were added.
Okay, so the next one is the student code of conducts,
Yep.
Course guide, student handbooks, first read.
Yes. So part of our internal work in central office is to make sure that we have systems in place for reviewing and approving what is in our handbooks, our student handbooks, codes of conduct, and so forth. So at the end of the school year, each administrator was asked to bring forward their code of conduct or their course guides so that the board has a chance to look at them. They turn into policy, they turn into practice when they're put into effect. And so we want to make sure that our public knows and that you have the opportunity to approve those. Annually, this will just be an update cycle. So if something new is introduced, such as the 5-point grading scale, weighted grading scale that was approved by the board earlier this year, that will go into the handbook and the course guide itself. So we don't have any major changes except for the 5.0 grading scale that have been adjusted for 22-23. So everything you have there are updates that are related to changing the year. But we do expect next year to see some pretty dramatic changes in our high school offerings, including honors courses added and so forth, and also seeing our STEM offerings increased as well. So you'll see that. This is simply a procedural piece. This is a first read. Each one of those have been introduced. I am not going to go through those today. To just say that these are what are currently there and updated in their current language. There will be some, as revisions come, they will come before the board for approval when they represent policy or practice changes. And that's all of that presentation.
Okay, so we'll go through these on our own, and then
Yep.
if we have any questions, we just
Yes,
bring them up.
correct, and they will be then available for approval in their final version then on the 9th of August.
Okay.
To
Good
the
summer
chair,
reading.
I did have one question on the online stuff. It was 21F was mentioned. I think it was in Anderson. I have no idea what 21F means. It was in the Anderson handbook, related to online
Our
courses.
21F students, can you explain that?
I was just recently told that that means those are the students that have at least one virtual class.
Oh, all right, okay.
So if they're taking a Michigan virtual class, for instance, we might have a course offering that's not available because we don't have the staff to teach it. We'll have a staff mentoring it, and they'll take it through an online virtual program.
Thank you.
I know some students have to take it because when they want to take something is the same time something else is,
Right.
so they.
No, that's good. That's perfect application. Good, thank you.
All right, so then, number 2 is the 21-22 NWEA achievement.
So good evening. The NWA, as you know, we take that 3 times a year, September and then middle of the year, January, and then one more time in May. It's important to look at the change between September and May to get an idea of our year's growth. I'm happy to say that across the board, the growth was pretty solid. One of the particular areas of strength was our middle school math. They exceeded the national norms significantly in all 3 grades. I've already reached out to Principal Kelsey Tackett to acknowledge her math teachers. One of the areas of growth or areas of concern is our elementary virtual learners, where we saw a number of those growth scores much smaller than what the national norm would be. And these national norms are for all students across the nation, in person and online. And so by statute 98B, we are supposed to present these at the end of every year. So these are your NWEA scores as they will be presented on our school website. Any questions on them?
Any questions about the scores? Don't see any.
Okay. I have the next one too, so I'm just going to stay here
So
for a
you're just gonna
second.
stay right up and handle the foreign language curriculum adoption first reading?
Yep, so in July, we'll be looking at this to approve this, but I wanted to bring it to your attention today to have you guys have an opportunity to take a look at it. The program is a little different than what has been done in the past. In the past, it was, the traditional textbooks, and the students go through the curriculum that way. But that was back in 2010 when this was adopted. The resource that we're looking at for this year is a 100% online resource that is fully integrated with videos, presentations, interactive vocabulary, and just much more in tune with where today's students are. The nice thing about this program is it integrates nicely with our Schoology LMS, Learning Management platform. So take a look at it, and we'll be back in July to approve it or not.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
Questions on the foreign language curriculum?
Are those mainly online resources?
So it's not an online class.
Oh, I mean the
The
materials.
resources, yes.
Okay.
They're online, and it's just, instead of being a paper physical copy, you know, in some ways it's very similar to a textbook, but much more interactive. And it still will be taught by the teachers.
Okay, and then do we have any other foreign languages through the DCC or the Downriver Consortium?
I don't know, I'll have to check on that, but I know right now that at Anderson, it's French and Spanish.
Okay.
And one of the other reasons why VOCES was chosen was it was equally strong in French as it was in Spanish.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President.
Great.
Mr. Lindsay, under the Rosetta Stone, is there, we don't know where we're going yet? Are we trying to see where we get the best price? There's a question mark there.
So the Rosetta Stone was one of the alternate vendors that we looked at as a possibility for adoption. From what I understand, now this predates my assumption of this role, but from what I understand, the product itself was not as broad or comprehensive, and it didn't give, it was basically just learning the language rather than the entire culture and experience of French and Spanish.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go through these, and if we have any questions when it comes,
Perfect.
we'll get them to you before the first read, so,
All right.
so that we have it.
All right, appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next presentation is for the sinking fund.
I didn't print that out.
What you got?
VGA and HDMI.
So you got HDMI there, and you got the HDMI. Okay.
Get something that'll match Gary's fancy computer?
If only I knew how to work it. Okay. And just to make sure. There we go. Right. Thank you. Good evening. Gary Count with Plant Moran Cressa, presenting this in tandem with Ms. Sharon Irvine. Today we're going to be going over the Southgate Community School Sinking Fund presentation, kind of some of the back work we've done over the past few months. As you can see on the second page of the agenda, there's quite a few items. We'll try to, move through these fairly quickly, but feel free to stop with any questions you might have. High level, some of the things we're going to be talking about. Recommended facility investment every 20 years, what that number is going to look like. Orientation and quick facts about sinking funds, what they cover, what they don't cover. You know, the difference between a bond versus a sinking fund, the types of millages that we're proposing, the district's needs, as well as some sample sinking fund projected revenues that were put together by PFM. So the recommended facility investment, essentially what this slide covers is every 20 years, you know, it's recommended to put about $160 per square foot into each building in the district. So infrastructure improvements such as parking lots, windows, doors, mechanical, and temperature controls, parking lots, safety and security is another big one. And what that looks like for the district is, you know, there's roughly 600,000 square feet in the district throughout all the buildings. What that equates to is about $100 million of need throughout the district. In 2015, we passed a bond for $20 million roughly. In 2020, the district passed a bond for about $60 million, which equates to $80 million. However, the bulk, you know, a good chunk of that went towards the new natatorium. And the capital funding allocated to existing facilities was about $40 million, leaving a remaining capital need of $60 million. So what we're hoping to capture with the sinking fund is, you know, to cover some of that need for the district. Sharon, anything you wanted to add to that? So this next slide just shows all the facility overview throughout the district. You know, a big thing to touch on this slide is, you know, the average age of these buildings is 58 years old, which, you know, needs that repair and you know, the recovery that we're hoping to capture with the sinking fund. That's what that $160 per square foot captures. It's a big district. There's a lot of square footage, as you can see. So, capital program history. So again, you know, back in 2018, 2019, the district put together a 10-year capital plan outlining the needs of the district. From that, you know, the 2020 bond was passed, but it still left quite a bit of need, as we discussed in the previous slide. You know, there's several ways that the district can address these needs. The one that we were instructed to look upon is a sinking fund. Future bond program wouldn't be for another few years, you know, so the immediate need is you know, best covered by a sinking fund. This slide outlines the difference between what is covered in a bond and what is covered in a sinking fund. The main one being repair of school buildings. Repairs are not covered by a bond. You can buy things like new boilers, but if a boiler breaks, you can't pay for that out of bond dollars. You need to pay for that either out of a sinking fund or general fund dollars. Any questions so far? Okay. Sinking fund millages, like we said before, these can be used for the continual upkeep of school buildings, facilities surrounding school sites, you know, i.e. parking lots and playgrounds, security, and, you know, mechanical, air quality controls, things like that. The big thing to hit on this page is that the good thing about a sinking fund is it's used on a pay-as-you-go basis. So, you know, all the monies are collected and utilized directly to the district, and the big bonus is that there's no interest expenses. So you don't have to pay interest on bonds or anything like that. Some of the common questions. Recently there was a change in state law. Prior to that, sinking funds couldn't be used for technology. Now they can. So technology is a big one, especially when it comes to things like security and things of that nature. Again, another thing is there's no interest expenses, which is a huge advantage of a sinking fund versus a bond. Another common question is, can general funds be used for capital projects? Typically, the general fund is typically preserved for the instructional programs and supportive services such as teacher salaries, curriculum materials, operating and maintenance expenses, and administrative expenses and other needs.
We got one question.
So, technology, if we were to use it for security for our buildings, that would be okay for the sinking fund?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
It would also be okay to use sinking funds for Chromebook replacements. You know, we became a one-to-one district right before the pandemic, and the pandemic absolutely hit home the technology needs that teachers have in the classroom and students have as well, especially when so much of the curriculum has been transferred digitally. And we know that there are families that aren't able to provide the technology infrastructure for the kids to access that. What we know is that we don't want this to be a one and done. So we made huge investments with ESSER money into Chromebooks. If we don't find a way to replace those Chromebooks over time as they are damaged, we won't have a one-to-one program last very long, because we won't have the general fund dollars to outfit every student again on a regular basis. And we know that our next bond opportunity may not be until 2029 if we're looking at no new increase in taxes there. So we do have to find a way to regularly keep our inventory of Chromebooks for students up to date and make sure that we have those laptops over time. So it also can be used for all manners of security. And we know that one of the things that we learn every time there's a crisis, we learn a little bit about how we need to improve our protection of our schools, depending on the nature of that last crisis. So, 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, thumb turns, locks, were considered best practice in security. So our building and the last bond made sure that thumb turn locks were placed on every door. Now we see that there's vulnerabilities there. What's the next one? Today we're going to talk about the smart boot, which is an improvement on the thumb turns, but is also a barricade. And we continue to learn more. We also continue to see opportunities to strengthen our school security. So we know that in 3 years, there'll be something else that we might need to add, and keeping current with the best trends in security will be an investment over time as well.
So with the pieces of security that go with the technology, would it cover the software for security and curriculum?
I will have to look into that. I do not know the answer off the top of my head.
If you're talking about security materials and education,
So for a device to work properly with
oh, you mean like a
technology,
connectivity, like an alert system?
the software that goes with it, like
Yes.
the programs,
Yes.
and then curriculum too. Would that
Like training?
training and different, like, if there's a new device and you have to have the software to go with it, would that cover?
Yes. Anything associated with that security infrastructure. Now, as far as, personnel to come in and train, no, because sinking funds may not be used for salaries or for pay for individuals.
Well, I just know that with new devices, sometimes the software only works with that device, and I didn't know if that would cover that too. Thanks.
So this next slide just kind of outlines the millages in the neighboring districts throughout Wayne County. As you can see, Southgate, I'm not sure if my mouse is showing on up there, is currently at 5.85 mils. It's kind of middle of the pack. You can see some of the other neighboring districts such as Gibraltar and Woodhaven are a little bit higher up on this scale. Both currently have a sinking fund in place. Same thing with Romulus and a few others on here. The proposed millage is 1.9, which would put us just slightly below Woodhaven's millage rate. So as you can see, the district's still in a very good spot. With that being said. District needs. Sharon, I'm not sure if you want to kind of
Yeah, we
touch on this.
looked at what we need for the next few years, and like I mentioned, security investments are an ongoing need for us. One-to-one technology is an ongoing need. Air conditioning infrastructure. We know that air quality is being handled in some part by ESSER, but that doesn't cover the air conditioning pieces that really need to become a part of our school setting Building repairs, roofs, asphalt, and cement parking lots are another piece that needs some attention, as well as what we do with Heinzen, the warehouse now. Heinzen, we know, needs to either be improved and made usable or demolished, one or the other. We can probably add a replacement facility there that can be a metal building. It can be something much more practical and cost-effective. But one way or another, the city has spoken very loudly about the existence of Heinzen and the impact that that building has within the community as a condemned building or a dilapidated building. So that is something that needs attention and can be handled through a sinking fund.
And cannot be?
Can.
Can, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and like Sharon said, this is a totally changing environment. A lot of districts are facing the same need right now and trying to figure out how to head off all these changing problems that we have. And, a sinking fund's a great way to capture that, take on security investments, one-to-one technology with remote learning and, air conditioning and air quality with COVID and things like that. So, and on the next page, you'll actually see PFM put together a table that shows the projected annual and cumulative sinking fund revenue at 1.9 mils, and this is based on an annual increase of taxable value of 3%. So in the first year, they're looking at a generation of approximately $1.6 million. Over 5 years, it's about 8.6 million, and then over 10 years, it's a little over $18.5 million. One of the things that PFM put together was the average value for a home in Southgate is approximately $150,000, which equates to a taxable value of $75,000. And, the average impact to a homeowner is it's roughly $11 a month just to cover this. And that $11 a month generates over $18.5 million, which is pretty substantial and impressive. The next page is the proposed ballot language. Again, this includes, the 1.9 mils over the next 10 years, ending in 2032, starting in 2023. And it includes technology, security improvements, building maintenance, and construction and repair of school buildings. And finally, the last slide just shows a high-level timeline of where we're at with the sinking fund. Over the past few months, obviously, we've had conversations. The district and Plant Moran Crest have been working behind the scenes to put all this data together along with PFM, the legal counsel, and everyone. Right now, we're at the end of June presenting it to the board. Going forward, if it's approved tonight, we'll continue the planning work, capital and building utilization and enrollment projections to kind of figure out where the exact needs are in the district. In August, we'll submit the ballot proposal to the county clerk. And starting in August, if not a little bit sooner, with mail-in ballots going out in September, we'll start the sinking fund informational campaign for the public. And this is all for a November 8th election date. Any questions on?
I would just, can I
Sure.
ask that? So our exercise here is not a matter of, we know there's many places where we need capital improvements like this or repair. So our objective will be to prioritize those. We know we have well more need than we have cash now or even in the sinking fund.
Correct.
So our objective is not to figure out find a way to spend money, but to put a hierarchy of our needs together. Is that correct?
Yes, yep. Prioritize the needs, figure out what's the most drastic and best use of the district's money.
Yeah.
So I don't know who would answer this, but do we know right now, maybe Barb, how much we've spent on repairs for buildings over the past couple of years even?
I don't have that readily available, but I can get that for you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Okay.
Sharon,
Anything else for
anything?
Gary or Sharon? All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
right, that brings us to item F on the agenda, which is citizens' comments. Just a reminder that a member of the public may address the board for up to 3 minutes. You can request to be scheduled at a future meeting agenda if you'd like. You can fill out a form at the beginning of the meeting, and then we'll call you up. So please state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes. So we'll start with Ms. Schultz.
It's been a minute since I've spoke with y'all. Hello, good evening. My name is Billy Schultz. The first thing I would like to see a change in how the selection process for students to attend summer school. This program should not be first come, first serve. We had 150 first graders. 50 of them signed up for the district for summer school, and our district was only taking 25 of those students. So that left 25 students in need of summer school on a waiting list because one school turned in their paperwork before another. So Ford Line and one of the other elementaries turned it in before Grogan. So Grogan students all got left out. I think we need to make adjustments for next year on how we choose the students for summer school programs. We shouldn't leave any student behind. And then I have my other concern is addressing the porn books that are still in the libraries here in Southgate, and why it is important for the board to put in place this media book appeal process on the website. I know we were voting on it next month, and it's very important that we do put this in place. I know I've spoke before in the past about some books, but they are still available to our students. I have here a rating system 1 through 5. We have probably over 50 books in the 5. 1 is considered G-rated, 5 is considered R-rated, and it's just I'm floored at some of the books that we have in our thing. One of the books that is a 5, you can find this book at Southgate Anderson, and it is called Sold. Are you ready to work? She says, and in my language, I nod and say yes, then nod again. Although I do not understand how these city people do their chores in such fine clothes and uncomfortable shoes. I follow Mom down the hallway, lined with tiny rooms. We pass, my girls sitting cross-legged on the floor. Girls draw on tiger eyes, paint, and girls spray themselves with flower water. I'm gonna leave this for you guys because I know my time is up, but we also still have the 10-book series, Confessions of Georgia Nelson, and one of those books is, the first book in that chapter is Anus, Thongs, and Full Frontal Snogging, and then the second book is On the Bright Side, I'm Now the Girlfriend of a Sex God. Those 2 books can be found at Davidson. And they are also 5 ratings, so we can't watch a R-rated movie in the classroom,
Thank you.
but we can have R-rated books.
Sure. Thank you. Okay. Next is Miss Cindy Weblands. Is that how you say it? Sorry. Thank you.
I'll be brief. First, I want to thank you all for what you do, because you are a cushion between our kids. The bureaucrats way up high. I don't know how far off they are. I don't know where they are, but we are the cushion. We are the people. For some kids, we are their parent figure. And I'm here also because of these books and the kind of things these children are learning. This is all completely crazy to me. But this book here is called Identical. You really should check out the Goodreads description of the book. You have no idea what it's about. But it starts out, here's an excerpt from the pages. It says, Kaylee rouses at his words. Come into the moment, secure in the aura of Daddy's love. She tried to sit up, but Daddy pushed her gently back down against the mattress. Stay just like that for Daddy. I want to teach you something new. He lifted her nightgown, rolled it up over her belly, coaxed her thoroughbred legs apart. She squirmed a paltry protest. Don't move, Daddy's scarlet face underlined his command. I thought he might smack her, but as quickly as his anger flared, it dissipated like smoke. Don't be afraid. This won't hurt. You'll like it. I promise. He kissed the length of her torso, down to the small, naked V. It was only his mouth that night. He didn't even ask her to touch him, prove how much she loved him. Afterward, she worried. I'm not going to go on anymore, but you get the gist of it. This is in the middle schools. This is inappropriate. This is disgusting. And I'm asking you to please put some kind of a media implementation review and get some parents on the board to help, because these kids have enough problems. I mean, there's so much suicide. There's stuff that I've seen and heard that I can't talk about because I'll cry. I'm just asking you to please put something in place. These kids can't take all this overload of all this stuff. I appreciate you, and I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, Mr. Pulaski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Pulaski, and I live at 12757 Chestnut Street in Southgate, born and raised. Teresa's probably going to get off her rocker again for this one, but I just want to thank you. After 23 years of service, you've done amazing work here in this district, and I just want to wish you the best with your retirement, and just keep on bringing that smiley face to the board. Even though you won't be on the other side, you'll be on my side this time. And I'd also like to welcome our new face, Ms. Batter. I look forward to working with you and working out some things on the board, but also giving you my comment form now this time. So welcome all our new people to our board, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Second thing I'd like to bring up, and this is piggybacking on the last two comments with the books. Now, I'm not going to get into details. That's not something I do. But I have tips from people. One of the things my priority is safety in the school district. I care about safety. You know why lots of people are leaving other districts? Because of these books. You know why they're coming here? Because we are the safest school to be at. When we talk about mission statement, learning for life, we always live up to that standard. I got a tip from two people, two students, one of close friends of mine, that there were books like the two commenters mentioned, and just listening to it was absolutely appalling. This isn't a political issue, it's a safety issue. And I look at it as just appalling to listen to these books just be in our kids' heads. You know, I'm running for school board, and I care about safety, number one priority. You know, not just a kid falling over and scraping their knee, but making sure they get fed the right type of learning. For example, Because of Winn-Dixie, that's a number one book, number one seller. Everyone knows that one. To Kill a Mockingbird, everyone knows about that book. That's the types of books that we should have in our schools, not these types of books. I'm coming to you as a loyal student, but also coming to you as we need to get a plan in place. But I have faith that you guys are going to do it because I trust you. I've trusted you from day one. And this is the district that's going to change this region. Wyandotte is so far gone. River Rouge is so far gone. Ecorse is so far gone. Do you want me to keep going? I'll keep going there. Everybody, not just Rouge, Detroit, Taylor, Inkster, Wayne, they're all coming down here. Not just for the safety, but the learning curriculum. We are putting Southgate back on the map. We couldn't do that before, but we're doing it now. Let's get a plan in place and let's keep Southgate on the map for the #1 school to bring our kids to learn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gecko?
Hello, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Shannon. I'm the chapter chair of Moms for Liberty, Wayne County. I'm also a nurse, and I work in the community. Me and my sister, it's Billy, my sister, we started our journey a few years ago with issues in the school, and my focus is on parent rights. It's kind of an advocate thing that nurses do with patient rights, and I kind of focused on more of children's rights in the schools and parents' rights. So that's why I'm here advocating for parent rights and children's rights. Now, we're looking at this huge influx of the pornographic books in our community. It is it's very strange how all of a sudden there is just hundreds and hundreds of books in every community. Even at the state board meeting, we had a resolution to focus on this as well. So it's happening all over Michigan. And I looked into these things, and we do have a book that my sister and I found. It is Water for Elephants, and it's the rated 5. And it speaks about prostitution and stripping and things like this. And I'm not going to get into the details because it makes me uncomfortable. But it has a content warning on this book that it's adult in nature, and if you are under the age of 18, it's not recommended. And also, it's illegal for you to view these materials. Now, notice I said illegal, and I said parent rights. What's going on here with parent rights is we seek to have accountability for why these books are in the school. And what is going on with the normalization of sexualizing our children so early at these ages, when there's all these problems with depression, anxiety, unplanned pregnancy, all these problems that I see in the community as a nurse. STDs are an epidemic. I mean, it is just crazy. So why are we introducing all these books all of a sudden? I just want to let you know, there's hundreds of parents, there's hundreds of chapters. We're all looking into all of this, and like Robert said, we are looking for other arrangements to go to other schools, pulling our kids out of public schools, homeschooling, things like this. So the board is the gatekeeper to all of this to protect our children from safety. So I just want to make sure that you realize that these books are harming the children, exposing them to sexual materials that can damage their brain development. And that is important for them to learn. They are such a learning, the learning right now is in the dumps. The reading, the readiness for Southgate for college is 76%, I think, on the Mackinac Center, that 70% is not ready. So we need to focus on doing better. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak tonight? Okay. Go ahead and we'll close the public comment. That takes us to G, the superintendent update.
Yes, I want to start by letting you know that our North Point is, they kicked off their teacher training this summer, today. And we have several training experiences happening over the summer, so there's going to be a lot of activity and flurry around the building as you'll see some capital improvements around. We also hope to have a community opening towards the end of August so that we can give the neighborhood a chance to come in and see it reopen again for Southgate Community Schools. So that's really exciting, and we kept all of the paintings of students and bricks in the gym to make sure that the legacy of North Point stayed. And even though there was a break in time, we're excited to reopen it. So just a little bit about that update. Our AstroTurf, I want to make sure that our community knows that has been replaced. There are a few repair pieces. We're keeping people off the turf, hopefully for the next week while those repairs are made. We did get a chance, though, to play on it for the first time last night, and that was exciting. It looks beautiful, and so we're happy to report a positive change and replacement there. We also want to make sure the community knows that we have a lot of work happening at the high school this summer, which means that over the course of the summer, there will be sections of the building that will be unavailable for public use. And we know that we have a campus of activity that includes athletes and musicians all throughout the summer. So we will be working on a calendar pretty closely to allow those that are sponsoring those events to know which areas are closed off. We expect that we'll have some major water turn-offs during the week of July 4th. We also expect to have electricity turned off in mid-August as the transformers changed out, which means that they'll bring a generator in very specific to areas of the building that are being used. So I just want to alert the general public that please expect that there will be a lot of adjustments that will be made on campus, and to be patient with us as we get through those renovations. And finally, we have set the graduation date for next year, just so everyone knows. I thought we'd give you an early information. It will be June 6th next year. We want to make sure that we are able to schedule it on a date in which the YAC is also available and open. And with Wyandotte, they usually have the first opportunity to schedule, and so that means that will push us to either a week earlier than normal or a week later than we did this year. And we want to choose a week later to make sure that kids are in session as long as they can be. So June 6th is that date.
Any questions from Mr. Ryan? All right. Brings us to item H, which is the consent agenda that consists of minutes from the June 14th, 2022 board meeting, the HR update, and expulsion of student 1322. I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion by Dr. Pomponio. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Green. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes. All right. And it brings us to action item number 1, approval of the MHSAA membership resolution for 2022-2023.
Yes, annually we have to renew our membership with MHSAA. This is the board resolution for that renewal.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on action item number 1.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2022-2023 MHSAA membership for Southgate Community Schools as presented.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Pomponio. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Green. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Action item number 2, approval of the fiscal year 22 final amendment.
Yes, you should have received a copy of the final amended budget, and I have submitted for your review and approval the following proposed final amended budgets: the General Operating Fund, Special Education Fund, Food Service Fund, Community Services Fund, and the Student School Activity Fund. And I wanted to just go over the primary reasons for the budget variance in our third and final amendment. The proposed 2021-22 final general operating budget is based on the following changes since the last amended general operating budget on March 22nd of 2022. Unstaffed positions have been removed. Enhancement dollars that were not used in FY 21-22 are available for carryover in FY 22-23, including curriculum online material purchasing that requires possession on July 1, and additional elementary dollars for K-5 robotics for each elementary school. Unused severance money and the projected general fund balance as a percentage of the 2020-2021 expenditures is 14.81% according to our board policy.
Any questions for staff? Okay. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on action item number 2.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 final budget amendment as presented.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Pomponio.
Support.
Is there support? Supported by Mr. Estheimer. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Action item number 3, approval of the June policy package.
Yes, at our last board meeting, we had a first read on several policy items, including our wellness policy, the right to assess fees and fines based on damaged technology equipment, as well as staffing layoff and recall related to North Point's IB program. So I think those have been thoroughly introduced to you as a board, and they are here now for their approval.
Any questions for staff? Don't see any, so entertain a motion on action item number 3.
Mr. President, I move to approve the July policy package as presented.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Estheimer.
It's June. That's a typo.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
sorry.
June. Yeah, on the, yep, sorry, June. Okay. Motion by Mr. Estheimer, is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Green. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, takes us to action item number 4. Approval of the Smart Boot hardware package.
Yes, at this time, I'd like to invite Rob Courtier to come on up to the front. Mr. Courtier is the representative for Smart Boot. Last board meeting, he had an opportunity to present the entire comprehensive system, which in its entirety is approximately 1.2 million. That is a pretty significant sum. What we did instead is break off the hardware piece itself with its connectivity options available, and he is going to go through that with you. And then we can, at a future date, consider the connectivity and alert systems as we look at additional monies through sinking fund. I'll let Mr. Courtier speak a little bit about the Smart Boot.
Well, thank you for the invite to come back down again. It was very nice the first time to be able to have a conversation about our product. With the boot that's down on the floor, would you like that picked up so everybody can see that a little better?
You can set it.
On the table, would be
On the
good.
table,
And then
yeah.
turn it, face the,
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen it.
we've seen it.
Good. So the hardware part of the, is really where it started. And there are a lot of schools in a very similar situation with you that are going hardware and then building onto it. That's why we build it à la carte. So schools can do it as they can afford it and or how they want to be able to create funding things for it. What we're going to be installing, if approved this evening, will be the boot, the barricade device, the boot box, which houses with the smart system, a partial smart system on the boot that's already there, and also all the numbering systems throughout your whole school district, which includes interior and also exterior placards, and doing the color coding. So every school will have the color code and all prepared. So when the time is sufficient to move into the smart system, it's all ready to handle it. We come in, put the electronics to that portion, and literally program it in, and you're on. As Superintendent Irvine said, we're learning every day. We've had the bomb squad into our offices yesterday for the Michigan State, for the whole state. They came in. We use these experiences to continue to build what we're looking at, and we learn from the shootings, all the different things. That is why it is the smart system, because we can continue to change and evolve. Our partners are Future Electronics, which they're one of the largest manufacturers of chips and technologies in the world. So the products that we're going to be able to offer you down the road along with this is just gives you a really good foundation. It gives you immediate impact on safety for children and immediate impact for response for law enforcement to be able to navigate your buildings instantly. Is there any additional questions? And thanks for the phone call that we had to bring you up to speed. I appreciate that time on Father's Day.
Mr. Estein?
Yeah, I just had I'm assuming so, but I just wanted to clarify this smart system dollar amount that we're speaking of tonight. Does that includes obviously installation of all these products, not just the hardware itself?
Yes, that's installation, that's.
And accountability for installation?
Oh, yeah, that's everything installed, complete, right down to into also classroom training and training for teachers and students and administration. And working with your safety team that's in place to make sure they're getting, we have to work together to be able to communicate consistently. All the majority of the schools around you are moving in this direction, so we're very fortunate that we've got a lot of support, and it's important for law enforcement to be able to speak the same language and come into a building that's laid out the same way as Taylor or Flat Rock, or they're all gonna be the same. So it's a big advantage, and the training is a big part of this first step.
And you touched on that. That was my second part of the question. So that does include the training, which,
Yes.
you know, Bobby the Boot and usefulness of that character.
Yeah, we can, typically we do Bobby the Boot when it's the full smart system, but I think it's too important to leave out of this, so I'm going to put that in at this level, so the kids at the earliest age, because these kindergartners or preschools are gonna be introduced to them and stay with them for all through the years, all till they're graduating high school.
Yeah.
So we need to be that consistent path. So, yeah, Bobby the Boot, we didn't touch on that, but my daughter reminded me that we should really do that to really teach the kids what it really is there for and the repercussions if they touch it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I saw it in him over in Allen Park when they did their Safety Town graduations.
Oh, were you there, or did you see it on Facebook?
I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah, no, that was a wonderful day for us and the kids.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Pomponio?
So we were reviewing the boot, the hardware, and the color coding system.
Yes.
So the 1.2 million, what are we not seeing, or what didn't come with that?
Well,
Or the
your
software.
teacher tablets for communication.
Okay.
Okay, your main stage tablets, which I have one here. that you're able to alert, integration to law enforcement, all programming to have all the nodes speak to each other, and buildings to be connected to each other, in addition to law enforcement being connected together. And then putting the strobe light system in, or the red lights or green lights that create the mesh that creates the workability of the actual product. So that's the second portion that you'd be looking at, possibly with sinking funds or with other things. It's all technology.
So would it cost more outside of a package to get those pieces in, like over time?
It will. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you exactly what that is. I was very fortunate before the shortage of chips and spent a lot of money because we had so much interest before COVID. So the quote that I gave you, which I talked about in our last meeting, the electronic portion, because since I was here 2 weeks ago, we've sold 13 schools. 13 school districts have bought since last week. So we're running out of original stock that I bought in 2020, which that semiconductor at that time was $1.40. They're $8 now, and 52 weeks to get. So we're trying to navigate and we're trying to save schools as much money as we can. So depending on if your sinking fund passes or different things pass, it really just depends on the market. And obviously labor costs are a little higher, which is already put into this. If I was to project, you could be looking at approximately a 20% difference in cost weighting. And that's conservative, because I've been asked by a lot of boards that same question. So in today's market, that's where it's going to be. A year from now, we don't know where it's going to be.
And so with using our current equipment, is there tech support if there's things that go offline, or if something happens with the software, hardware?
24/7.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's a 1 year, once a year we come in. It's a service charge program that we set up. We do an evaluation after the first year, how your custodians are cleaning them, how the general basics are. The boot boxes get changed out with the batteries, the lithium-ion batteries, and everything gets checked. And then we do upgrades into the system. I did get a new upgrade. My patent came in on Friday, and ETL listing came in on Friday. And I'm super excited because all these schools have been waiting that I've talked to them about, and now I can actually sell it. And it's going to be a wonderful addition to your school, that when you decide to move into that way, we'll have new things in addition to what you've already seen.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions?
Andy? Yeah, thank you for calling me on Father's Day, or I called you
yeah.
one way or another. We did
I knew it was one of you. I didn't remember which
Didn't
one.
matter. It was a great use of my time. How vulnerable are we in changes in technology over time? Over, I don't know, say 3, 4, 5 years. You're more in tune with the day-to-day changes going on.
Well, that's a great question. We feel we're leading the technology world in security. We are considered now in 4 additional states that we've been invited to within the last 2 weeks to come and present to attorney generals, governors, because of our partnership with Future Electronics. When I say partnership, we buy from them, and they're not a partner in mine. That's my company, but they support us. The technology that is built into the lights in the boot boxes are very futuristic. That's not even available to the market yet. So we've thought really deeply and through, along with the engineers of Future Electronics, of where our path is going to be. So a simple answer is, we think we're about 10 years ahead of technology right now.
So I have a 3-year-old laptop whose internet speed, because of the bus, stinks. We're not going to face that kind of problem in the next few years.
Well, there's been a lot of changes in that, and the FirstNet that's out there now, and the new programs that are coming through, government programs that are coming through, that are going to really assist working with us in a global market. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then the chips, you mentioned when we spoke that there was a chance that you would be able to embed some of the chip technology in the upfront installation? I
Yes.
don't know if that's a reality or not, you didn't promise it, but is that, can you tell me where we are?
That's part of your proposal. The
Right.
chips and everything are in the bottoms of the box, so that's a portion that you're going to save.
Okay,
So when we put this box in, we'll literally put the lithium-ion battery in it and turn it on, and it'll link right to all of the lights that we put in on the second stage. So you are saving a considerable amount of money getting it done this way.
thank you. And then one last thought, I think I understood you to say that surrounding districts, including Ellen Park, are investing in the same system. And the SWAT leader, who might be one of the command and control folks on site, God forbid there's an incident, is the Allen Park Chief of Police, is that correct?
Chief Egan.
That's right.
Yeah, he's
So he
in-
would be the SWAT guy that would be managing on scene, okay.
He didn't ask for the job. He was nominated for it because of his leadership skills. And I've had the opportunity to meet with him, break bread, talk to him.
He's a Southgate graduate, too.
Is he really? Yeah, I mean, the guy is, the guy is really concerned about all the schools, and he's really trying to put everybody in his districts all around and the SWAT training to be consistent. So I think he's doing a wonderful job, way, way above and beyond his call of duty.
I mean, that way that he doesn't have to learn 24 systems to manage an incident.
Exactly.
Very good, thank
Yeah.
you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Can I just ask a follow-up?
Sure.
In the packet here, it may be laid out like this for a reason, but on the right side, I noticed that it's pretty much everything that we've talked about. But, I don't remember going over, when you had the presentation with us, the ballistic shield. Is that something that's part of this product that we're purchasing today?
It is not.
Okay.
It is not part of the.
Because I don't remember a discussion about that, so.
Yeah, there's, Melvindale is moving with it, Taylor is moving with it, Allen Park is going to move with it after they're done with the first, because of financial things. There are certain things that I'm going to push onto schools or suggest to schools, and certain things I'm gonna back away from if I feel a door is not gonna handle what my product is designed to do.
Yeah.
You're in pretty good shape door-wise. Okay, there's some things that I'm gonna pick apart. That's just me. And Rick got a real good idea on what my personality is when it comes to making my opinion. I'll make opinions. There are some areas in your schools that ballistic shields will be a wonderful addition to, but at this point, I want to get the boots in. I want to get that security, that training done, and then we'll talk as things evolve.
Okay.
Because I know there's some construction stuff happening also.
Just want to make that clarification. Thank you.
Yep. Then the last thing that we did not speak of, I think we spoke a little bit. If you look in there, there's the shot detection portion of that. All the technology is already built into it. I'm just not happy with the 70% accuracy because of the echoing in the hallways. So I'm working with one of the world's leaders in shot detection. All the technology is already there. I've just got to come up with the MIMS microphone to be able to eliminate and decipher those shots to be able to alert the system. I can't have negative runs into the system. So as that comes available to you guys in technology, the programming's free. It's already there. The only thing you would have to purchase would be a new dome light top that would have that microphone in it. So we just pop the top off, put a new top, plug it in, and it's done.
Okay.
So.
So when we say smart boot hardware, does that include that boot? So in the language?
boot, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, it's right here.
It's the holder, the boot, the installation.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll bring the discussion back up to the table, and I'll entertain a motion on action item number 4.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the installation of the smart boot hardware only and room numbering system for an amount not to exceed $546,209.
Okay, a motion by Dr. Pomponio. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Estheimer. Any discussion? Dr. Pomponio?
So this is for the viewing audience. We are, as you know, living in a tumultuous time. We're forced to make changes, implement policies, and force zero tolerance for any threats to student and staff safety. So we need to be proactive and reactive. So with that said, I support this system.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to just add that there's no one that wants to spend more money and certainly bond out more than we already have. But as you can see, there's some priorities here that none of the folks on the board, even Neil and Sean who aren't here, no one's going to stop investigating ways where we can invest smartly to protect our kids. So this may be just the beginning, and that's one of the reasons we're looking at the sinking fund. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Okay, action item number 5, approval of the bid award for North Point Elementary School renovations.
Good evening again. Gary Kent with Plant Moran Cressa, here to present the North Point Elementary School flooring and painting renovations RFP recommendation. In summary, this package has our recommendation letter, the TMP flooring and painting bid package, construction documents, the proposals from both Detroit Spectrum Painting and Cones Commercial Floor Covering. This update represents the mutual efforts of Plant Moran Cressa, TMP Architecture, and the Southgate Community Schools Administration. On June 1st, 2022, TMP's construction documents were formally issued and made available to the public. They were published to the local newspaper and also posted to the required State of Michigan website. On June 16th, sealed bid proposals were received and publicly opened. They were reviewed by the project team, and upon completion of the interviews and concurrent discussions, the project team is recommending Cones Commercial Floor Covering and Detroit Spectrum for approval. The total fixed fee for Cones Commercial Floor Covering is $31,050, and the total fixed fee for Detroit Spectrum, per the scope of services described in the RFP, is $18,815, and will be outlined in their AIA contract. We are recommending carrying a contingency amount of $98,000. It's a high amount. The reason we're moving this into the contingency rather into their fixed fee is because the way we laid out the drawing, there's a lot of alternates in this package to save potentially the district a lot of money. Whether it's the flooring that's underneath the carpet that's already there, we couldn't evaluate it due to the current tenant in there. The furniture's on top of it, we couldn't pull it out. So once we remove that carpet and see how the existing subfloor is, if it's in good shape, we can try to reuse it and save the money, but if it's in bad shape, we'll have to repair it and pull from that contingency amount. With that being said, the total project award amount is $147,902, and again, the contingency amount is included for flooring alternates and any unforeseen conditions. On the following pages, you'll see the construction documents, which outline the scope for this summer's renovations at North Point. And then on the following pages, the proposal forms from both Cones Commercial and Detroit Spectrum Painting.
I'm sorry. What was the total?
Yeah, what was the total?
Amount? That's different than what I have here.
So this shows $147,902.
Go into contingency.
Oh, the contingency is,
That's contingency, correct?
the contingency amount is $98,037.
Just on our documents, it's a different amount, so just want to make sure that we.
Well, it's on the web doc, but it's not on the motion sheet that way, so we have to make a correction.
Sure.
Oh, I see it.
Will you
You
please?
have a scope of work to Detroit Painters at $18,000, correct?
Yep, $18,815 for Detroit Spectrum.
And then we have, for the flooring, we have $31,000, correct?
Correct.
So. Contingency.
And those two amounts, along with the.
So you're talking, the contingency is 98,
Correct.
So,
The overall project cost, for this package is $147,000. And that includes the $98,000 for contingency, the $31,000 roughly for Cones commercial flooring, and the $18,815 for Detroit Spectrum.
So we're just approving the Cones and the Spectrum contracts right now, right?
And the contingency.
Okay, you need an amount.
that's an error on the
You need an
motion.
amount in for the contingency as well? Okay.
So it'll be 147 then total with the contingency side.
Yes, correct.
I think we got distracted by the actual awards
The
that were given.
fixed fees for the two, yep.
The
And-
contingencies because of what you couldn't see, because of what you couldn't move.
Yep, exactly. And any amount in that's not used obviously will be returned to the district, so.
So just for the record, what's the total amount? So I have the 31, I have the 18,8, and the 98. So what's that math?
$147,902.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Dr. Pomponi?
So I haven't been in that building in a while, but I know that the guidance center did some updates, but this was a newer building. What's going on with the floors that we need to?
They're carpeted, and the carpet, only lasts so long. As you know, that all of the flooring renovations we're doing at Shelters in Allen, for instance, the carpet is pretty much threadbare.
Okay.
It's getting down there. So that removes it, and in this case, we're replacing carpet with carpet. We're not going to be putting in tile because of the number of tile matches you'd actually have to do to replace that. So it's just a one-to-one. So,
And the painting?
and we also.
We do the whole building or?
No, it's just the areas that we're in right now. So what was renovated by the guidance center was the areas that Head Start was using. So they replaced flooring, for instance, in those areas. In the areas that we're gonna reoccupy, those were actually used as office spaces. So they installed partitions, for instance, over carpet. They installed other things over carpet. So what that did is, as we remove those items, now we don't just have carpet that's older. We now have carpet that's older that has holes in it.
Okay.
So there's a lot of reason why this area was not, the flooring is not prepared for opening as a classroom yet.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank
Whatever
you.
else might be under that.
Right.
Okay.
You don't know until you rip it up. You don't know what else is under that.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll bring the discussion back to the table, and I'll entertain a motion on item number 5.
Mr. President, I move to approve the bid award from North Point Elementary School's painting and flooring to Cones Commercial Floor Covering for an amount not to exceed $31,050, and Detroit Spectrum for an amount not to exceed $18,815. However, I'd like to add a contingency of $98,000 for a total amount of $147,902.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Estimer. Is there support?
Is it $98,037?
$98,037?
37 on
Gotcha.
contingency. Okay.
Correct. Thank you.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Lamas. Okay. Any discussion on the item?
Can't wait to see it.
Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Okay, action item number 6, approval of the 2022-2023 lease with the Guidance Center.
Yes, in order to reoccupy North Point, the Guidance Center currently has a contract they're ending a 5-year contract with next year being their last year on that contract. We would not have the right to reenter unless they gave us permission to reenter under that contract. And so they did agree to negotiate a lease with us, a lease adjustment. And so what you have there is the new lease that allows us to reoccupy the spaces that are outlined in orange exclusively and have shared spaces in the areas that are yellow. And tenant spaces is the blue area. So that's how we will occupy North Point. That means that we will have 39% of the building, and they will have approximately, the difference there, of course, 50, can't do head math right now, mental math right now on the spot. So 39% we will reoccupy.
They'll have
Thank you, the 61, thank you. So that will change our revenue from 10,000 a month down to 6,000 a month. And we will then pick up that proportion of shared custodial costs and facility costs. So we will not bring in our current Forefront custodial company. They have their own, and we will just, they'll invoice us on custodial charges.
I was busy searching for the document, so could you just explain again? So the landlord space, that would be considered us?
The landlord's
The
like,
orange?
yeah,
Okay.
it's orange.
All right, thank you, that's all.
The yellow is shared, and the blue is
Right.
then
That's,
exclusively
they
theirs.
would be the tenant, yeah. Thank you.
This is just a 1 year.
Just a one-year agreement. After 1 year, they will vacate the premises entirely, and we will have the building exclusively ours.
Okay.
Now, are we gonna be able to start the renovations before they exit?
Well, the renovations, yes, are already starting now.
Okay.
And as soon as this flooring bid goes out, that will happen. So they're out of the space that we're going to occupy
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
They're completely out.
Thanks.
And we were able to, just as a side note, we were able to collect quite a bit of office furniture for a nominal fee expense that is quality furniture that we were able to take on for the district, and that's really been a nice asset.
Good, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? All right, seeing none, we'll bring the discussion back up here, and I'll entertain a motion on action item number 6.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the one-year lease for the Guidance Center's use of North Point Elementary from July 1st, 2022 through June 20th, 2023 as presented.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Pomponio. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Lamas. Any discussion? I'll jump in. I'll say it's been one of my goals to see North Point being reused as a facility for Southgate schools since I've joined this board. And so it is great to see this coming around, and it'll be better next year when it's all ours, but till then, we'll take what we can get, so, okay. And with that, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes.
Let us know when the ribbon cutting is over there.
We will.
All right, action item number 7, approval of the sinking fund ballot language for the November 2022 election.
Yes, as was presented by Plant Moran, we have the opportunity for a sinking fund millage. We do have surrounding districts who have sinking fund millages. They are different than bond issues. And we recommend, the district recommends that the board approve that we place a ballot initiative on the November ballot for 1.9 mils. That will generate for us over 10 years, the total amount as presented, nearly over $18 million. It would be a $1.6 million amount annually that will pay for security improvements. So the next step in the Smart Boot system, this would cover. It would cover Chromebook replacement schedules over a 10-year period so that we can maintain and update technology over time and keep our kids current and those materials and technology and devices available to our kids and our families. It would also, again, help us determine the appropriate and respond to Heinzen, the building itself. And we believe, again, that will be a significant benefit to the city to do as well, our community, and for other air quality and HVAC matters as well and repair work. So, and we also know that we have quite a bit of pavement and entrances in our parking lots and asphalt that needs to be redone. So all of this would cover those expenses. We would not be able to get to all of those in the bond, and we have used our bond money to promote our athletic programming, especially in building an auditorium. So we would not be able to go out for another bond issue for a no tax increase until 2029 is what the analysts said. So that is a long time to wait to address additional infrastructure needs. And we don't want to find ourselves in the position that the district has been in the last decade, which is deferring maintenance on its facilities over time, because we see what happens when everything needs to be replaced all at the same time. And if we don't attend to this regularly, annually, we will find ourselves needing to reconstruct the district again in 10 years. And we think this is a better option. We don't have to pay money on interest, and every bit of that money comes directly to those projects and to our kids. So we do recommend this to be placed in the language that's presented on the November ballot.
Any questions for staff? Okay, bring the discussion back to the table, and I'll entertain a motion on action item number 7.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the sinking fund ballot language for November 2022 as presented.
I have a motion by Dr. Pomponio. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Lamas. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate that the primary driver here, there's a number of them that are very good, but the primary one, given the immediacy of our security issues, is simply that I don't think anyone wants to wait. We want to be proactive and do whatever we can to prevent any kind of horrible incident that we can. Secondly, we're keeping our eye on demographics, so that is the way folks are moving in and out of Southgate. Robert, you mentioned earlier the changing demographics. So that's going to continue to change, and what our district looks like in 10 years may look different than it is today. Number of buildings, kinds of buildings, that kind of thing. So in addition to that, the age of our school children will also change. It's changed a lot since I was last on the board in 2000, and it is going to be different again here in the next 5 or 6 years. So we'll keep our eyes on that stuff as well to see how we can best use this sinking fund investment. So thank you. It will cost, by the way, $132 a year for the average home in Southgate. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll go ahead and say my comments here on it. I think this is really important. I want to commend the work of staff and my colleagues up here. This is the start of the work. The next is to get this approved. How do we get this approved? We get the word out as to why it's there, as to why we need it, and to how it's going to be effective in protecting the assets that we've created. We've spent money building up our district, and if we don't take care of it, we're going to end up with nothing. It's like, you know, you've got the car, you got to change the oil because it's a lot cheaper than rebuilding the engine, and that's what we're doing. We're getting the money to put the maintenance in and make sure that we can keep these products around and keep these improvements around for a long time. So it's important, and I'm glad everybody was able to put this together. And now we just put that effort out to the community to get this approved. So with that, I will call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Action item number 8, approval of the amendment contract for owner's representative services with Plant Moran.
Yes, so with the successful approval for the board for the ballot language, this particular amendment amends the contract we have with Plant Moran to be the owner's representative for the campaign itself. They did originally provide us with an amendment that also had them as owner's rep for the work itself. I did ask them to delay that until we knew what that work was going to be. We do believe that there are many pieces of this work that we'll be able to do independently, and so we want to be very cautious about how we're using that money and where it's going, and we want it as much as possible to come to our facilities.
Right.
So it is, though, for the pre-ballot work or the campaign work, and for the needs assessment, the facilities assessment work that will happen as well.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on action item number 8.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the amended owner's representation contract with Plant Moran. Is it Plant Moran Cressa or
Plant Moran Cressa, I believe.
Plant Moran Cressa,
Yep.
as presented?
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Pomponio. Is there support? Support. Supported by Mr. Green. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. Action item number 9, approval of the 2022-2023 Washington DC trip.
All right, thank you very much. This is a trip that the 8th grade takes every single year. And as an old social studies teacher that's done this trip several times, I can tell you that's an awesome experience for our 8th grade kids. So it's my recommendation that the board approve the field trip request to go to DC from May 22nd to May 26th.
Any questions for staff? I'm gonna just put one to you it's not the biggest deal, but I hear grumblings from parents complaining about the timing of this trip, how it runs into graduation activities and senior activities if they have siblings that are doing that.
Gotcha.
I don't have a problem with the dates, it doesn't affect me, but I don't know if the dates are set in stone or if they're,
So there is flexibility on the dates.
Adjustable.
There's a couple of different issues. One, thankfully, the graduation dates, as announced today, kind of pushed it back a little bit, so we dodged that for next year. The other issue is the testing schedule in the spring between both MSTEP and NWEA is, something that, is it an insurmountable hurdle? Probably not, but it is probably why it's more toward the end of May than the beginning.
trying to hit that right spot between
Right.
the end of the year and the testing and everything.
Yep.
I get it, I just putting out what I've heard.
Yep, I respect
Asking for a
that.
friend. Mr. Green.
I just see Ms. Shook going, no. So I just, it's what she's talking. Okay.
Late in the year, if you move your trip into June, because
Right.
the testing and such, like, I think my last testing date was the 19th of May. So at that point, the NWEA had ended, and then we just turned around and left. But it also does provide a little more time for people to pay in a little bit of smaller chunks by moving it off. We have tried the trip in the past earlier, and it did not, the weather wasn't.
That's,
Oh,
I've done it in April, and it's.
I'm
oh.
convinced there's no perfect time
Yeah.
for anything. All right. Just putting it out there for notice, so, thank you. All right. Any other questions after I lob that out there? All right. Okay, we'll bring it back to the table for discussion. Or entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Davidson Middle School trip to Washington DC from May 22nd, 2023 to May 26th, 2023, as presented.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Pomponio. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Green. Any discussion? Dr. Pomponio.
I wanted to thank these great leaders, Mrs. Shuck and Mrs. Sokolowski, to bring this forward several years ago. This is a great trip that students will gain knowledge, history, and experience of a lifetime. I've heard nothing but great things, so have fun.
We got some pretty cool swag from these things, too.
Right.
Okay. Anything further? All right, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We don't have anything under discussion. I don't see anything under discussion, so that's nothing there. Survey?
No, and there's nothing there for discussion.
No employee representatives. Information announcement from the board? Anybody?
Yeah, just real quick, I just want to
Sure.
say, have a great summer, staff and students.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Motion by Mr. Estimer, is there support?
Yes.
By Mr. Lamas. Any discussion? No. Seeing none, I'll call for vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.